Hi, this is Christian Chase with Chase Real Estate and ChaseForeclosure.com. A lot of my investors ask me the question, how do I build up a rental portfolio? And I can exactly tell you how I did it, and it is something that has worked for me for 25 years now. In the mid-90s, I graduated from college and I started buying foreclosed real estate to buy them as a rental property. I would be buying them to fix them up and then rent them out and cash them out, get my money back so I could go out and buy another property all over again. So what I'd like to do is take you through how I started building up my real estate portfolio. And it really is a simple process. The idea is to go in, buy the property, fix it up, get it rented, get it refinanced, get my down payment, my rehab monies back in my pocket, and go out and buy another property again. And to be able to do that, I needed to really do that in the very beginning. Once I graduated from college, I didn't have the funds available to be able to buy property. So what I needed to do is use the same funds and recycle that again and again and again. Now I've done that a ton of times with all the rental properties that I own. And essentially, I look at my return on investment as infinity because I kept on using those same funds to keep buying properties for my portfolio. So essentially how I did it is I would buy all of my properties in foreclosure. I needed to buy the property here and the property needed to be worth here. And that would give me that spread, would give me the ability to cash out after I had the home rented. So I would go in and I would buy the property in foreclosure here, and then I would send in my renovation team to go into the property and I would do a renovation for rental scope on the property. Now, what I wanted to do is I wanted to rehab the property so it would rent, but I didn't need to go in and put in all of the luxury items we would put inside of our resale properties. So they would go in and we typically would paint kitchen cabinets, and we wouldn't put in like a granite type countertop. We're going in and putting in nice, new, clean items inside the property, but we're not going full tilt. And the reason why I don't want to do that, if I was to put today some white shaker style cabinets inside the property, one, they're probably going to get dinged up and nicked up from a tenant. So I don't want to put in something like that. And plus, why would I put in a shaker style cabinet that's popular today? Because in 10 years from now, that's likely not going to be the style that's inside properties. So if I decide to sell the property in 10 or 15 years, I'm going to have a dated product inside there. So that may lend itself to putting in something that would be a lower grade cabinet or painting the cabinets, which I did a majority of the time, is having an oak kitchen cabinet. And I would paint them in a nice color just to get them a little bit more up to what today's standards are. And then, again, inside the property, how I renovate a home, I do a lot of carpet. Carpet is so cheap to install, and after a tenant would move out, I could go in and put in new carpet where carpet needed to be installed. So it's just a strategy that I would use to renovate the property. So I could, tenant moves out, I could go in and do the same thing all over again. And then it's also standardizing items inside your property. I typically use the same color paint in all of my rental properties. So if a tenant moves out, all I have to do is paint from here on the wall down to the floor, maybe where the kids' fingerprints are at. So that made it very, very easy for me to go in and do a quick rental refresh is what I would call it. So picking out the right items is critical inside your property. Out of the gate, the day that you buy it and you're going to be doing a rental rehab, you want to rehab it that way. And our renovation teams that we use, they know exactly what level we bring these properties to for a rental. So they know not to go high end. Hey, we're going to be using a lot of carpet. I actually call it a sea of carpet. There's so much carpet inside of our rental properties. And I know you might think, carpet gets destroyed, but carpet is so cheap. To me, it's kind of like something we roll it in and then the tenant moves out and we roll it out and roll a new one in. And with the cost being so low, it just makes sense to do that. So now, once the property has been remodeled, what I'll do is I contact our lead leasing agent to get the property rented. And our lead leasing agent is Amanda Jump, and she specializes in working with our investors on getting these properties rented out. She is absolutely phenomenal. She charges 1 month's rent to get a property rented. I personally pay her 1 month's rent to get all of my own properties rented. She's so good at doing the background checks, the credit check, the criminal check on the tenant. She knows what is required for each individual area. And she's really, really well connected with the housing authorities, knows what their process is, knows what tenants are available, and is able to get our properties rented very, very quickly. And so, specifically right now, if you have somebody looking for a property, or if you have a property that's available, we have tenants that are waiting for properties in Will County. So if you have anything available right at the moment, we could pretty much get your Will County property filled right away. There's literally a waiting list of tenants right now for Will County. But Amanda's going to do all the background checks, the criminal check, and what I think she goes above and beyond is she checks the tenant's application versus the tax records. So if the tenant says on their application, I live in 132 Skidoo in Joliet, she's going to check the tax records to see if the landlord name matches the tax records. Is that really the person that owns that property? So it's a lot of, private investigator stuff is that she's doing to ensure that the tenant, one, is telling the truth, and if they are, then verifying with that landlord that this has been a good tenant. So something really, really important. Now, after she does all the background check, credit check, and criminal check, checks the applications, she's going to send that over to you. And if you approve of that particular tenant, she's then going to write up the lease, exchange the keys with the tenant, collect first month's rent, 1 month security deposit, and then deliver that back to you, the investor. And we also offer something else that I think is really helpful is if you need to get the property property managed, we have a property management company with Chase Real Estate, and that's run out of our Mokina office. And Gino Picciola is the person that runs our property management. And why I like our property management, I've used property management companies that are outside firms in the past. And a lot of the property management companies, what I've found is, yeah, they make 10% per month to manage the property. But where they really make all their money is on all the repairs that they suggest need to be made to the property. And that, to me, is a major problem and conflict of interest. And so what we did is we engaged with Gino. Gino and I have been working together for, I've known him for probably close to 20 years, and in real estate for 10 or 11 years now. And he's the managing broker of our Mokina office and handles all of the property management for our investors. And what I like is he's going to have repairs that are going to need to be made at the property, but he's not specifically looking to make all the money on the repairs. He's making it on the property management. If you're managing hundreds of units, that's worthwhile. Where so many of these smaller little firms that are out there, they manage a handful of firms, but a handful of properties, and they're making all of their money on the repairs. They're not even looking at the property management fee as a profit center for them. So to me, again, I think it's a little bit of a conflict of interest. So we have that. So essentially what I would do is I would buy the property, get it fixed up, get the property rented, get the property in property management, and then at that point, I would go back to my banker and I would ask my banker, hey, I want to do a cash out refinance. I bought the property here, it's worth here, let's go ahead and get my money back. And today, it's so easy to do a cash out refinance on one of your rental properties. Once it's rented, I would say, we can go back out and there's no seasoning requirements for this. I can refinance my property. The day after I have the home rented, I could go back and have that property reappraised and cash out and get my money back out of the property. And I can do some introductions to our lenders that do that as well. So the process is extremely easy. So once I got my money back, and one thing I would suggest to investors is do not strip your property of all the equity. Take out what you've got into it. If you've got a down payment of $20,000 and renovation of $20,000, take that out and that's it. You will many times have the ability to strip out way more cash. Where did I see that go wrong? In 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10, investors who had bought properties, rental properties, and they wanted to do refinances, they were able to strip out everything. Well, let's say we get into another market like 2006, 7, or 8, 9, 10, and you needed to sell the property for whatever reason. If that be the case, you can't you can't sell that property because you have no equity inside the house. So by only taking out what you have into it, if the market was to decay or we have some slippage in the market, you would have the ability to still sell that property and likely make yourself whole, and you're out of that house if you needed to. In 2006 to 2010, I owned a lot of properties. I had the ability, because I only cashed out what I had into the property, I still had the ability to sell it, but I didn't want to sell any of my properties at that point. I just left all the properties there, and now they've are all come back and exceeding where they were at even in 2006. So I'm in a very good position because of that strategy and not selling any of my properties, and also not feeling that pressure that I stripped out all the equity, and it was just a really, really bad situation. And not every investor did that, but I saw investors do that and strip out the equity, and I would never, ever recommend doing that. And it's not part of, it has never been part of my own personal strategy to get where I'm at. So now I have all my properties refinanced. I own the property, but I still have my mortgage on it. Now the objective was for me is to get those properties paid off as quick as possible. So the cash flow that I made on the property, a portion of that goes towards the property maintenance. The other portion I would plow towards principal reduction. And all the mortgages I had on my properties, I had 25 or 30-year mortgages. So on those 25 or 30-year mortgages, I did not want to wait 25 or 30 years to own that property free and clear. What I would do is I would take a portion, put it towards property maintenance, and a portion towards the principal reduction. And what I was able to do and I really kind of did a calculator to just calculate out how long would it take me to pay off each individual house. I could pay off those properties in around 13 or 14 years. And that was always my objective. And that's exactly what I did, is pay off my properties. And now having each one of these homes that I own are worth a couple $100,000 a piece. And if I was to sell off each house every year for the next 20 or 30 years, that's a couple $100,000 every year. It puts you in a very, very comfortable position. And I think our investors should absolutely be doing this and incorporating into your buy, fix, and sell strategy some buy, fix, and rent properties. And for me, it was hands down the smartest move I ever did, was buying them in foreclosure, fixing them up as a rental rehab, getting the property rented, property managed, and then refinancing the property and only taking out what I had into it. And if you do that, it is hands down a great way, long-term strategy, maybe 15 to 20 years at a maximum is how long you should own one of the properties. 13 to 14 years is optimal, and then you own the property free and clear. Your tenants paid that property off for you, and now you've got yourself a bunch of buckets, little houses that you could sell off every year if you wanted to, and have the proceeds from there. You're paying your capital gains on any of those properties, but it really works out in a great way. And having all the team in place. We're here at Chase Real Estate to help you find the good deals, the foreclosure properties that you would be able to do this with. We also have the rental team in place to help you get those properties rented out. We have the property manager to get these properties properly managed. And we have the lenders that know exactly how to do these cash out refinances. And like I said, you do not need to wait any time other than the day the property is rented. You have a tenant living in there. Now it's time to do the cash out refinance. So we have all the pieces to put this whole thing together and guide you through the process. And as always, check out our website, chaseforeclosure.com, and don't hesitate to go ahead and give me a call. I'll explain this whole process to you. If you want to have like a video meeting or a one-on-one, I'd be glad to explain a little bit of how I've done this and how I can help you achieve the same thing. It is hands down the best thing that I've ever done. So thanks.